the brutal days of choice was to keep working for the academic enthusiasts, to keep learning for growth, and to keep developing intellectually to bring forth an academic revolution. The choice gave rise to what today, a century and a half plus speakers recognize as the Graduate Scholars Talk series. A very warm good evening to the galaxy of intellectuals present here for the 170th session of the Graduate Scholars Talk series in the continuation of our series of most exquisite articulations from the best of our speakers. Today's session is special as we are accomplishing another of our milestone, which is of 170 talks. I am Samriddhi Ganwal, currently pursuing my Masters in English from the Department of English, University of Delhi, and I consider it a heartwarming pleasure to welcome you all and hereby extend a heartfelt gratitude to all of you for sharing your Sunday evening with all of us. With this platform that has been extremely dedicated since 170 Sundays for 170 talks and a century and a half plus of speakers from almost 90 different locations of our country, hosting again a century and a half guests of honor from 90 plus colleges across the nation. And all of this has been made possible because of this one sole aim of GSTS, which is that of enhancing the research work experience of scholars and graduates. And this platform has been extremely enthusiastic since the day of its inception, which is 7th February 2021. And today, which is 2nd June 2024, we are completing our 170 talks. So all of this has been made possible because of this aspect of teamwork, which is very appropriately manifested by the team of moderators of the GSTS, which include Mr. Shubham Tiwari, Mr. Saurabh Singh, Mr. Ajay Gupta, Ms. Manvi Saraswat, Mr. Shalendra Rathod, Mr. Manthan, and me, who have been working and exploring the various domains of knowledge under the guidance and constant motivation of Dr. Manish Karmwar, who is contributing his esteemed efforts as the advisor of the platform. So GSTS in this journey so far has, gained a lot of milestones. We are touching 170 talks today. We were featured in the Changemakers Summit of the G20 as highlighted in the video. We were telecasted twice in the Doordarshan News, featured in their show Good News Just by India Ka. We have hosted a range of scholars ranging from graduates to postgraduates to MPhil scholars to PhD scholars and even the domain of school children. And we have been continuing these efforts, with a range of kaleidoscopic topics that have been a part of our platform. And for our today's session, I would again like to congratulate the platform. And again, a big thanks to all the faculty members, all our guests of honor, all of our past speakers, and every one of you who has been there throughout this journey of the platform. Beginning with today's session, I first of all would like to, introduce you all to our honorable chief guest for today's session. So for our today's much anticipated event, it is our utmost pleasure to have one of the most distinguished professors again as today's chief guest. And I consider it an overwhelming privilege to introduce you all to Mr. Vimlok Tiwari, who is, presently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Political Science, Bharti College, University of Delhi. So sir is contributing his efforts to the college, and previously talking about his academic background, he has been associated with the Department of Political Science of Miranda House, where he contributed his diligence for 2 years as a lecturer in political science. And his area of specialization is, quite, dynamic, which ranges from international relations to Indian foreign policy, Indian government and politics, and much more. He has also presented several papers in international and national seminars, and he has also been a part of several conferences and has also published a lot of papers on his domain around his expertise. So sir, before we begin with today's session, I would like to invite you to give us some quick introductory remarks from your end, along with the permission to begin with the further proceedings. So over to you, sir. Sir, kindly unmute your mic.
Welcome you all. Good evening, namaste. First of all, I'm very happy to share this platform with you all. I'm very happy to being a guest of honor here because as a researcher, as professors, we are very much aware the fact that we have some limitation in our classroom and a student need a holistic perspective in any topic, be it national, international, domestic politics, and all. So I'm congratulating Dr. Manish sir for this student-led, student-centric initiative which provide a holistic perspective to undergraduate student, which is a rare phenomena in University of Delhi. So without taking too much time, I'm inviting speaker for further proceeding. Thanks.
Uh, Thank you so much for your kind remarks, sir. And जैसे ही हमारे speaker का talk end होता है, we will be eager to listen to your remarks and insights and further suggestions.
Sure,
So,
sure.
before we begin, before I call upon our today's speaker, I'd like to quote two, quick excerpts from two short stories that I was reading a few days back. And I promise that it won't take more than a minute. But ये इसीलिए important है because, it is telling about the gravity of the situation कि ये जो situation रही है indentured laborers की उनके लिए कितना difficult रहा है. So the first few lines are from this short story called The Tamarind Tree by Brij V. Lal, जहाँ पे वो मुल्क के आइडिया के बारे में बात करते हैं and he says that everything about मुल्क was golden perfect. The nostalgia of displaced people dealt a rough hand by fate. What strikes me now about Girmityas is how they were people caught in between. They were stranded in the past, vanishing before their eyes. They were living in a place they could not escape, making home in a land they could not fully embrace. Second, बहुत ही क्विक एक्सर्प्ट है बाय अनिरुद्ध सिंह फ्रॉम अ शॉर्ट स्टोरी पैसेज टू इंडिया जहाँ पे वो गिरमिटियाज के मेंटल टॉर्चर्स के बारे में बात करते हैं एंड ही इज सेइंग कि कैसे इन सिचुएशंस को एस्केप कर पाना उतना आसान नहीं है. And therefore, the narrator says ki, I shiver, not from cold. We are already in the Kalyug, Kali's age of destruction. I fear things will get worse for us coolies as the Brits and the Dutchmen combine forces to suppress us battlers. When South Africa becomes a republic in 5 months' time on 31st of May 1961. Back to India, but we have burned our boats and all. So, talking about this huge domain of indentured laborers, indentured laborers, it is very significant topic that needs to be discussed and it is also a topic that has been less discussed. So for today's session, without any further ado, I would like to call our today's speaker, Miss Anushka Shrivastava, to please come up with her topic, and good luck to you, Miss Anushka.
Uh, Thank you so much, Manvi, for the introduction. Well said. I would just present my PPT before you all. Manvi, can you please share it? I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, you can try sending it to me. I'll try to present.
Sure.
And Anushka, send to me also. Any
Yes.
problem?
Yes, I don't know why the screen is not showing now.
Okay. Send to me also.
Yes. Okay, meanwhile, I'll just start. Good evening, respected guest of honor, Vimlok sir, and everyone present here for today's talk. I first extend my heartfelt gratitude towards the whole GSTS team and Dr. Manish Karambar sir for giving me this opportunity to present on this very interesting, informative, and interactive platform today. My name is Anushka Shrivastava. I am a research scholar at the Department of African Studies in the University of Delhi. and currently working on the topic Afro-Indians in Gujarat. Today, I have got this opportunity to speak on the topic the history of indentured labor, and the presentation topic is Indentured Labor, the Unspoken Narrative. आज मुझे इंडेंचर्ड लेबर के इतिहास पर बोलने का अवसर मिला है. So the objectives of my presentation include knowing about the origin of the term indentured labor and the emergence of the term in recent times, the case studies of some specific countries, who were the Girmitias, endangered women of Fiji and Mauritius, endangered labor in the present context. So the indentured labor system's legacy continues to echo in the present day, influencing contemporary labor practices, migration patterns, and socioeconomic dynamics. करंट इश्यूज जो कि लेबर राइट्स, सोशल जस्टिस और कल्चरल इंटीग्रेशन से रिलेट होते हैं, इन सबको समझने के लिए हमें इंडेंचर्ड लेबर की हिस्ट्री को समझना थोड़ा जरूरी हो जाता है. सो व्हाट डू वी मीन बाय इंडेंचर्ड लेबर? इंडेंचर्ड लेबर होता क्या है? The indentured in the Indian indentured system was a system of indentured servitude by which more than 1.6 million workers from British India were transported to labor in European colonies as a substitute for slave labor. Following the abolition of the trade in the early 19th century, slavery के abolition के बाद 1833 में ये system expand हुई. फ्रेंच कॉलोनीज में 1848 और डच एम्पायर में 1863 में. ब्रिटिश इंडियन इंडेंचरशिप lasted till the 1920s. This resulted in the development of a large South Asian diaspora in the Caribbean, Natal, East Africa, Reunion, Mauritius, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Myanmar and Fiji. अब अगर हम इस कॉन्सेप्ट को समझना है तो ये जरूरी है कि इस टर्म की ओरिजिन को समझें एक हिस्टोरिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. So the origin of the term and the emergence of the term in recent times is that the act of signing an official contract called an indenture is the source of the word indentured labor. जो लेबर की कंडीशंस थी एंड लेंथ था एम्प्लॉयमेंट का, वो इन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स में स्पेसिफाइड होता था. A written contract known as indenture frequently had three parties and tier of copies for the laborer, the employer and the government. Indentured labor की हिस्ट्री में एक टर्म जो सबसे ज्यादा सुनने को मिलता है वो है गिरमिटिया. The term girmitia comes from the word agreement referring to the labor contracts or girmits signed by the laborers. गिरमिटिया शब्द समझौते से आया है जिसका तात्पर्य मजदूरों द्वारा साइन किए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से है जिसको गिरमिट कहते हैं. The concept of indentured servitude existed in medieval Europe where craftsmen and apprentices would bind themselves to masters for a specified period to learn a trade. 19th सेंचुरी की शुरुआत में जब स्लेवरी अबॉलिश हुई तो ब्रिटिश एम्पायर ने लेबर शॉर्टेज को पूरा करने के लिए तेजी से इंडेंचर्ड लेबर की ओर टर्न किया. इंडिया और चाइना से बड़ी संख्या में इंडेंचर्ड लेबर कैरिबियन, मॉरिशस, फिजी और अन्य जगहों पर आए गए. These laborers often signed contracts under harsh and deceptive conditions. There has been a renewed academic interest in the study of indentured labor systems. Scholars have focused on the socio-economic conditions, cultural impacts, and contributions of indentured laborers to the development of various regions. Now, I would like to talk about the historical context of indentured labor. The system of indentured labor evolved as a response to the labor demands created by the abolition of slavery and the expansion of colonial economies. So, to understand the historical context, we first talk about the transition from slavery to indentured labor. इंडेंचर्ड लेबर को समझने के लिए ये जरूरी है कि हम पहले ये जानें कि स्लेवरी से इंडेंचर्ड लेबर में ट्रांजिशन कैसे हुआ. The abolition of the transatlantic trade in the early 19th century created significant labor shortages, particularly in the Caribbean and other plantation economies that had relied heavily on enslaved African labor. ब्रिटिश एम्पायर ने स्लेवरी 1833 में ऑफिशियली अबॉलिश कर दी थी, जिस वजह से एक ऑल्टरनेटिव सोर्स ऑफ लेबर की तरफ इनकी खोज की शुरुआत हुई. So in this context, we see the rise of indentured labor. To address labor shortages, colonial powers turned to indentured labor, recruiting workers from densely populated regions such as India and China. Indentured labor contracts typically lasted 5 to 10 years, with workers promised wages, housing, and sometimes a return passage home at the end of their contract. However, the reality often fell short of these promises, with many laborers facing harsh conditions and exploitation. The British began recruiting Indian laborers in the 1830s, initially for Mauritius and later for other colonies, including British Guiana, Trinidad and Tobago, Fiji, and South Africa. The first indentured place जो हमें देखने में मिलता है वो है मॉरिशस. On 18th January 1826, the government of the French Indian Ocean island of Reunion laid down terms for the introduction of Indian laborers to the colony. Each man was required to appear before a magistrate and declare that he was going voluntarily. This agreement is known as Girmit, and it outlined a period of 5 years labor in the colonies with pay of 8 rupees per month. मॉरिशस में इंडेंचर्ड लेबर को भेजने का पहला प्रयास अनसक्सेसफुल रहा, लेकिन 1838 तक 25,000 इंडेंचर्ड लेबर्स को मॉरिशस भेज दिया गया था. Sugar planters in colonial areas initially pushed for the establishment of the Indian indenture system, hoping it would supply a steady supply of inexpensive labor that would be comparable to that of slavery. ये एक एक्सपेक्टेशन बना ली गई थी कॉलोनियलिस्ट द्वारा कि ये इंडेंचर सिस्टम जो कि फ्री लेबर हो सकता है, प्रेफरेबल होगा मार्केट प्रोडक्शन के लिए अगर इसको स्लेव लेबर से कंपेयर करेंगे. So now I take the first country and talk about the indentured labor in Mauritius. In 1834, the British government selected the island of Mauritius to be the first site for what it called the Great Experiment in the use of free labor to replace slaves. Between 1834 and 1920, almost 500,000 indentured laborers arrived from India at Pravasi Ghat to work in the sugar plantations of Mauritius or to be transferred to Reunion Island, Australia, Southern and Eastern Africa or the Caribbean. अप्रवासी घाट की बिल्डिंग्स सबसे अर्लीस्ट और रिमार्केबल मैनिफेस्टेशन है जो एक ग्लोबल इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम और सबसे बड़ी माइग्रेशन हमारी हिस्ट्री में हुए घटना को हाईलाइट करती है. भारतीय गिरमिटिया मजदूरों का पहला ग्रुप 2 नवंबर 1834 को एटलस जहाज पर सवार होकर मॉरिशस पहुंचा. इस दिन को अब मॉरिशस में अप्रवासी दिवस या अप्रवासी डे के रूप में मनाया जाता है. लेबरर्स इंडिया के डिफरेंट रीजन से रिक्रूट किए गए थे, जैसे कि बिहार, उत्तर प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु एंड आंध्र प्रदेश. Recruitment agents were known as arkatis, often used deceptive tactics to entice laborers, promising lucrative jobs and better living conditions. गिरमिटिया मजदूर गन्ने के खेतों में कठोर परिस्थितियों में लंबे समय तक काम करते थे. The work was physically demanding and laborers were often subjected to strict discipline and harsh punishments. So the system of indentured labor in Mauritius officially ended in 1917 as global awareness of its abuses grew and movements for labor rights gained momentum. The cessation of new indentured labor recruitment marked a significant shift in the labor dynamics of Mauritius, though the impact of the system continued to be felt for decades. Now I talk about the next country, which is Fiji. Fiji comprises of a group of 503 islands in the Southwest Pacific, of which 106 are inhabited. Gradually, European settlers began to immigrate to Fiji and started doing plantation. 481 Indian indentured laborers landed in Fiji on 14th May 1879. From 1879 to 1919, there was a steady immigration of Indians to Fiji. The immigrants included both indentured and unindentured immigration. At the same time, जो भारतीय वापस नहीं जाना चाहते थे, उन्हें फीजी के मूल निवासियों से लिमिटेड मात्रा में जमीन पट्टे पर लेने की परमिशन दी गई, जहां वे गन्ना या सब्जी उगा सकते थे. वहीं कुछ लोगों ने छोटी मोटी शॉप्स भी खोली. फीजी में आकर बसने वाले इंडियंस सब कॉन्टिनेंट के डिफरेंट पार्ट से आए थे, जिसमें मेजरली यूनाइटेड प्रोविंस है. For the first decade or so following 1879, immigration was slow, but it gathered momentum during the 1890s. At the turn of the century, immigration to the colony increased still further as labor was in demand because of the expansion of the sugar industry. There was a constant stream of immigrants, and by 1912, Indians in Fiji numbered around 50,000. The death rate among the indentured laborers was more than the unindentured labor, and Fiji saw the highest number of suicides of these laborers. फीजी में सुसाइड के रिकॉर्ड्स सबसे वर्स्ट थे, इसलिए फीजी एक टेस्ट केस बन गया एंड द होल सिस्टम वाज एट लास्ट कंडेम्ड। अब मैं आपके सामने करेबियन कंट्रीज ट्रिनिडाड टोबैगो के एग्जांपल रखती हूँ। 1845 से 1917 के बीच टोटल 1,43,939 इंडियंस ने माइग्रेट किया अंडर द सिस्टम ऑफ इंडियन इंडेंचर। Most of these indentured laborers were drawn from the agricultural and laboring classes of the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar regions of North India, with a comparatively smaller number being recruited from Bengal and various areas in South India. Approximately 85% immigrants Hindu थे और 14% Muslim. Despite the trying conditions experienced under the indenture system, about 90% of the Indian immigrants chose at the end of their contracted periods of indenture to make Trinidad their permanent home. The predominant age group of the immigrants was 20 to 30 years, and while most came as unmarried individuals, there were those who came as small family units. By the 1870s, Indians had proven themselves as the virtual backbone of the sugar industry in Trinidad. Now I would like to talk about the conditions of experiences faced by the indentured laborers. The conditions and experiences of indentured laborers were shaped by the harsh realities of recruitment, transportation, labor, and life on plantations. एक better life की promise करने के बावजूद indentured laborers को exploitation और hardships face करना पड़ा. Laborers were often housed in overcrowded and poorly constructed barracks with inadequate ventilation and sanitation. These conditions led to the spread of diseases and high rates of illness. The journey to the colonies, often aboard overcrowded and unsanitary ships, was treacherous. Laborers faced cramped conditions, inadequate food and water, and a lack of medical care. A most troublesome feature of the system of the indentured laborers was the fact that they could be and were prosecuted as criminals for what were really civil offenses, the slightest breach of contract and immigration laws. Indians leaving the boundaries of their respective estates were required to carry a pass stating that they had been granted permission to do so. Being found off the state without such a pass or ticket of leave saw many Indians being imprisoned for vagrancy or being found at large. Such unlawful absence from the estate should result in maximum sentence of 7 days in jail. Absence from the estate for 3 or more days was termed desertion and could earn the immigrant a maximum of 2 months in prison. The next important aspect of today's talk is talking about the indentured women in Fiji and Mauritius. It's important to talk about the lives of the women who went out as indentured labor. उन्होंने आदमियों से ज्यादा सफर किया था. Their characters were attacked by Indian men and also by their employers. Yet, despite all their suffering, these remarkable women were mainly responsible for ensuring that Indian cultural traditions survived and that the indentured did not lose their sense of identity. It was just a matter of time until women also began planning labor demonstrations as they progressively gained power via education and the establishment of small businesses. The most popular method of resistance was beating up and physically confronting males who had sexually assaulted enslaved women. The women were hugely discriminated against, their honor, and were repeatedly violated. Living and sanitary conditions were terrible, resulting in massive loss of life at a young age and among infants, as well as high maternal mortality. But their sacrifices, voices, and contributions were constantly overlooked. However, the arrival of women at the formation of families changed the character of indenture. After talking about the history of the indentured labor, it is important to understand the cultural appropriation in the colonies by the indentured laborers. इंडेंचर्ड लेबरर्स ने कैसे खुद को सोसाइटी में एसिमिलेट करते हुए अपनी आइडेंटिटी को नहीं छोड़ा, ये बताता है कि उनका इम्पैक्ट कैसे ब्रिटिश कॉलोनीज पर भी पड़ा. The system of indentured labor, which replaced slavery in many colonies, had a profound cultural impact on both the laborers and the societies they integrated into. This exchange led to a significant cultural appropriation wherein elements of the laborers' cultures were adopted and adapted by the colonial societies, while the laborers themselves had to adapt to their new environments. Now I talk about the Pidgin languages. In many colonies, laborers developed Pidgin languages. Pidgin language का मतलब है दो से ज्यादा ग्रुप्स एक कॉमन लैंग्वेज डेवलप करते हैं कम्युनिकेशन के लिए, और ये एक कॉम्बिनेशन है नेटिव लैंग्वेजेस का colonial languages के साथ. For example, Pidgin English, Sranan Tongo in Suriname. Next, I talk about the fusion of foods. The culinary traditions of indentured laborers significantly influenced local cuisines. For example, Trinidad and Tobago में रोटी एक स्टेपल फूड है और मॉरिशस में बिरयानी और ढोल पुरी काफी पॉपुलर डिशेस हैं. There was also an adaptation of religious practices. Laborers maintained their religious practices, which often blended with local customs. Hindu festivals like Diwali and Muslim celebrations like Eid became integrated into the cultural fabric of many colonies. Musical fusion. Laborers brought their musical instruments and traditions, which merged with local styles to create new genres. For instance, in the Caribbean, Indian musical elements influenced the development of chutney music. करेबियन आइलैंड कंट्रीज में जो फोक सॉन्ग्स हैं उन्हें चटनी कहा जाता है. इसके पीछे का ये सिग्निफिकेंस है, जिस तरह से हमारे इंडिया में दो तीन इंग्रेडिएंट्स को मिला के चटनी बनाई जाती है, उसी तरह वहां इंडियंस ने अपने न्यू एंड डिफरेंट कल्चरल सॉन्ग्स एंड डांसेस को इंक्लूसिव नाम दिया जिसका नाम था चटनी. In the present context, while yacht clubs, trendy international restaurants, and duty-free boutiques dot the scenic Lake Cordon waterfront of Mauritius, posters of Bollywood artists and Hindi movie theaters are an integral part of the skyline, as you can also see on the screen. Traditional attire, laborers' traditional clothing influenced local fusion. For example, the sari and kurta in the Caribbean or the salwar kameez in Fiji became common sights and sometimes were adapted into local attire. Another most common and important example of cultural appropriation is that Bhojpuri language is spoken by descendants of indentured laborers in Mauritius, Fiji, South Africa, Trinidad, Tobago, and other parts of the Caribbean. The island nations, the island nation carries many Bhojpuri language television programs on Mauritius broadcasting, which is also maintained by the Mauritius government. एक और इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्टर की बात करें जो मैंने मॉरिशस में नोटिस किया कि जब इंडेंचर लेबर इंडिया से माइग्रेट करके मॉरिशस आए तो अपने साथ लगभग 18 तरीके की मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स और हर्ब्स लेकर आए जो कि वाइडली यूज होते हैं दोनों इंडिया और मॉरिशस. The next important aspect of today's talk is talking about the Girmitias. Girmitias, also known as Jahajis, were indentured laborers from British India, transported to work on plantations in Fiji, South Africa, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Caribbean. The indenture system was a kind of agreement with the helpless and illiterate labor force called Girmit in its Indianized form, thus leading to the expression Girmitias for indentured labor. When we talk about the concept of indentured labor, the one person to remember who did the utmost to get rid of this horrible system is Mahatma Gandhi, who spent 18 days in the land of South Africa knowing about this whole system. Between 1893 and 1914, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi had seen at close quarters the abominable and despicable treatment meted out to the Girmitias in South Africa. Every time he went to India during 21 years, there was only one thought uppermost in his mind, the plight of the Girmitias. He sought at every Congress meeting to acquaint its leaders with the sore and abject humiliating conditions of the indentured laborers. With quite a few of the plights of the Indian indentures in Mauritius, he first made reference to Mauritius in May 1896. Years later, in 1924, Gandhiji, as president of the Indian National Congress, could not help mentioning Mauritius and the semi slavery system of indentureship. It was then that the Commission of Inquiry, headed by Kunwar Maharaj Singh, was appointed by the British Raj. Mahatma Gandhi's association with the Girmitias in South Africa was a pivotal chapter in his life that shaped his philosophy and strategies for social and political change. Now, I would like to talk about the present context of the indentured system. What is the present scenario? हमें आज के सिनेरियो में क्या देखने को मिलता है? Talking about the cultural heritage, the descendants of indentured laborers form significant diaspora communities in countries like Mauritius, Fiji, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Suriname. In the present context, we see modern forms of indentured labor, which can be seen in the form of contract and migrant labor. आज अगर हम इंडेंचर लेबर की जो लेगेसी है उसकी बात करें तो वो एक मॉडर्न कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेबर और माइग्रेंट वर्कर सिस्टम के रूप में हमें देखने को मिलती है. ये माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स आज भी काफी डिफिकल्ट कंडीशंस फेस करते हैं. Many migrant workers today face conditions that echo the exploitation and lack of rights experienced by the indentured laborers. The integration of indentured labor descendants into their host societies has also led to unique cultural blends, enriching the social fabric of these countries. अगर हम इंडेंचर लेबर की लाइफस्टाइल की बात करें, so we see that the lifestyle of indentured laborers in the colonies was characterized by hard work, poor living conditions, and cultural adaptation. But despite this harshness, these laborers showed remarkable resilience and played a crucial role in shaping the social, cultural, and economic landscapes of the colonies they settled in. Since the time of migration of Indians to Mauritius, their identities have been modifying with the changing political, economic, and social dynamics of the countries. When Indians moved to Mauritius, they were Indians in Mauritius, but now they are called as Indian diaspora. I would say that while the indentured labor acclimatized themselves with local cultures and learned new languages, they could not totally detach their connections to the land of their forefathers. उन्होंने अपने roots अभी तक नहीं भूले. इसके मैं अगर कुछ एग्जांपल्स दूं तो 2013 में राज केसपुर पुरयाग, the then president of Mauritius, could not hold back his tears when he reached Wajidpur village in the Patna district. It was, after all, the fulfillment of his long cherished dream, since he had been trying for a long while to locate the village from where his great grandfather Lakshman Nonia had migrated from 150 years ago. It was a similar story of Kamala Prasad Bisesar, the former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, who came to Bhelipur in Buxar district. यहाँ उन्होंने बताया कि जुलाई 18, 1889 को उनके ग्रेट ग्रैंडफादर राम लखन मिश्रा ने Caribbean islands migrate किया. Hence, we can observe that the descendants of these laborers have integrated into their respective societies, contributing significantly while also grappling with the historical impacts of their forebearers' experiences. As you can also see on the screen, there are large communities of people of Indian descent in the countries where Indian indentured labor was employed. The Nobel Prize-winning writer V.S. Naipaul, West Indies cricketers Shiv Narayan Chanderpaul and Ram Naresh Sarvan are some of the prominent descendants of indentured labor migrants from India who settled in the Caribbean. Hence, to conclude, what is my understanding about the indentured labor system is that the descendants of indentured laborers are seen in diverse and complex ways in the present scenario. उनकी visibility, cultural integration, socio-economic status और contributions हमें significantly देखने को मिलती है, जो कि different countries में vary भी करती है. Descendants of indentured laborers have taken on prominent political roles as well. For example, leaders like Kamala Prasad Bisesar in Trinidad and Tobago and Cheddi Jagan in Guyana are examples of significant political influence. The descendants of indentured laborers are seen as integral parts of the social, cultural, and economic fabric of their respective countries. उनकी resilience की stories, adaptation और success evidence है उनके और indentured labor system के long lasting legacy की. और इसका इम्पैक्ट हमें कंटेम्प्रेरी सोसाइटीज में दिखता भी है और हमें एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप करने में एक डायरेक्शन भी देता है जब हम पूरे प्रोसेस को एक क्रोनोलॉजी में देखते हैं और समझते हैं. Descendants of indentured laborers in countries like Trinidad and Tobago, Mauritius, and Fiji have played a significant role in bringing attention to their ancestors' experiences and contributions. So, I thank you all so much for being present and showing interest in today's talk. I hope I was able to convey my ideas clearly about the indentured labor system today. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Miss Anushka, for such a marvelous and nicely crafted talk. And I'm very much sure कि जितने भी listeners रहे थे आज हमारे साथ,
I think there is some network issues from her side. So, sir, should I contact her or like I should continue?
can I try now? Is it fine?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Now,
All right, I'm so sorry for the sudden network glitch that happened. So, as I was saying, Miss Anushka, this was such a well crafted and nicely articulated talk from your end. And we are pretty much sure that all the listeners who were there, in this session today, they have thoroughly relished your talk. But enjoy करने के साथ साथ, they could have also, found a lot of, new connections, in these different landscapes. कि कैसे India के cultural roots are not limited to this geographical location, but they are also reflected in other spaces as well. So, with this, we can now proceed, to some of the questions that have been posted by a few of the, inquisitive listeners. So, the first question is, what parallels can be drawn between the experiences of indentured laborers and other forms of unfree labor throughout history?
Unmute yourself.
Should I repeat the
Yeah,
question?
I'm so sorry. My mic was off. Okay. The talking about the parallels, I would say that while indentured labor was technically voluntary, many unfree laborers were coerced and deceived or had limited alternatives due to poverty and unemployment. Indentured laborers had some legal rights on paper, but these were frequently ignored or inadequately enforced, leaving laborers vulnerable to abuse. Enslaved people and serfs, as we talk about other forms of labor, unfree labor, they had no legal rights or were severely limited in their ability to seek redress for mistreatment. So, indentured labor shares many parallels with other forms of unfree labor in terms of coercion, exploitation, lack of legal rights, harsh working and living conditions, and resistance as well. Understanding these parallels helps highlight the universal nature of labor exploitation throughout history and also highlights the need to address its legacies and ongoing issues.
Well answered, Miss Anushka. The next question is, what role did indentured labor play in shaping global economies and trade routes?
Uh, okay. Indentured laborers were essential to the continued operation and expansion of sugar plantations in the Caribbean, Indian Ocean islands, Fiji, and parts of South America. So, these plantations were critical to the global sugar trade, as we talk about the global trade network. A major component of the colonial economy. The sugar production was a major component of the colonial economy. Indentured laborers contributed to the production of raw materials that were essential to global supply chains. The competition among colonial powers for labor resources and control over profitable colonies influenced geopolitical dynamics. The indentured labor system was part of broader strategies to secure economic dominance and expand territorial control.
Okay, all right. We have one more question by another of our listeners, and the question is, how did the experience of indentured laborers differ from that of enslaved people?
Okay, how did the
experience of the
Experiences.
indentured
Okay.
laborer
Okay.
differ
Okay.
from inside?
Okay, so the basic difference is that indentured laborers worked under a contractual agreement for a fixed period, typically 5 to 7 years. On the other hand, enslaved people किसी contractual agreement में नहीं थे and उनके freedom की भी कोई guarantee नहीं. Second point of difference would be that indentured laborers voluntarily इस system में घुसे थे. भले ही उनको जो promises किए गए वो fulfill नहीं हुए, but enslaved people forcibly recruit किए जाते थे. So we can say that both indentured laborers and enslaved people experienced exploitation in harsh conditions. The fundamental difference in their legal status, rights, and potential for freedom shaped distinctly different experiences.
All right, well, and that's a point to be noted, and it's very important. We'll take one more question, which is, could you please tell us about other kinds of sources which can be used to understand the nature of indentured labor and girmitias, and also if it will be possible for you to put some light on old and new slavery.
Okay. Talking about the sources, the most recent book which I have read on the indentured is by Baswati Mukherjee. She is the former ambassador, and she has written this book called The Indentured and Their Root, Tracing for Their Identity, in which she has highlighted very nicely what were the experiences and the conditions of women, which I just talked about. And she also says that. Uh, Talking about women is very important. That's what she's thinking of writing in her next book. Some other sources would be, I think, essays on endangered Indians in Natal. This was by Surendra Bhana, one book which I came across. And then uh, I think Bhojpuri Traditions in Mauritius. It is a very nice book by Sarita Budho. So these are the three sources which I'm aware of right now. And majorly, Baswati Mukherjee's book led me to present on this topic today. And yes, that would be from my side.
All right, Ms. Anushka, that was a very thorough and well researched and articulated question and answer round. And we have this tradition of asking one common question to all of the speakers that we host on our platform, which is how has your experience been in the platform? So, what was the journey so far, and how did you find the platform?
Okay, so firstly, I congratulate to the whole team of GSTS. You guys are very hardworking, and I know that right now your exams are going on, but still you are managing to continue this tradition in the way it has been continued till date. So I congratulate and give my best wishes to the whole team. You all are very, very intelligent and creative people. Secondly, I am very thankful to Manish sir for always keeping his belief and trust in me. And he only suggested that I should present on this topic. So I am very thankful to him as well. This platform, if I talk about the one unique thing, is that it keeps the student inside of you alive always. Every Sunday, we are always keen to look for the very interesting and new concepts on which students are talking, and the graduate as well as postgraduate, and also there are so many faculties who join us and they also give their insights. So this platform is very, very knowledgeable for us. So thank you so much.
Um, Thank you so much, Ms. Anushka. It was a wonderful time for all of us to host you as our speaker, and we wish you all the good luck for your future endeavors. Now, moving forward, it's time to call our honorable chief guest again for his insights and suggestions for Anushka's talk and also for the platform. So, sir, over to you.
Yes. A big round of applause for Anushka for a well articulated and thorough research on this topic, Girmiti, intangible labor, Girmitia Mazdoor, unspoken narrative. As the topic suggests, unspoken narrative, in initially poem recited by Samriddhi do a justice to this topic. As we know, colonial history was the history of discrimination and exploitation, and indentured labor became a major tool for this injustice. I'm happy that in a limited time, the speaker, Anushka, successfully highlighted some relevant point, starting from the historical background for indentured labor and emergence of this harsh and rigorous practice, with two important examples cited by speaker in the form of experience from Fiji and Mauritius. We know capitalism is known for changing its nature as per need for the time. और अगर हम देखें कि 1750s में यूरोपियन इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन से लेके और सेम टाइम पीरियड में कॉलोनियल हिस्ट्री में डी इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन का प्रोसेस जो पैरेलली चलता है, वहां पे हम देख सकते हैं कि किस तरह से इंटेंडेड लेबर को बाउंड कंपेल किया जाता है इस पूरे प्रोसेस में इन्वॉल्व होने को लेके। एक प्रोग्रेसिव सिस्टम के रूप में स्लेवरी एबॉलिश तो होती है 1830s में ब्रिटिश कॉलोनियल पावर के द्वारा, लेकिन सेम टाइम पीरियड में जो हम देख सकते हैं वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज के पैरोकियल नेचर्स को कि कॉलोनियल कंट्री में वो डी इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन के द्वारा एग्रियन क्राइसिस को बढ़ाते हैं, प्रमोट करते हैं, और जो मास लेवल पे लेबरर हैं वो बाउंड होते हैं अपने ऑक्यूपेशन के लिए, सर्वाइवल के लिए, अदर सोर्स को सीख करने के लिए। हम अपने लोकल फॉक लैंग्वेज में सुनते होंगे कई बार टर्म परदेश जैसे टर्म हमने सुने हैं। एक इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है क्योंकि हम कहते हैं कि लिटरेचर इज अ रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी। अगर हम तमिल, तेलुगु, भोजपुरी कल्चर में भी अगर देखें, क्योंकि तमिलनाडु, बिहार, यूपी एक मेन सोर्स थे इस पूरे इंटेंजेंट लेबर के एक्सपोर्ट को लेके, तो हर लैंग्वेज में कहीं ना कहीं ऐसे लिटरेचर मिलेंगे जो इस चीज को रिफ्लेक्ट करेंगे कि उस समय की सोसाइटी की फीलिंग क्या थी, उनके एक्सपीरियंस क्या थे। बहुत सारे लेबरर को ये नहीं पता था कि परदेश मतलब होता है बियॉन्ड द कंट्री। हम अपने आसपास अगर इस चीज को रियलाइज करें तो परदेश मतलब होता था कि अपने जो एक कम्युनिटी है उसके बियॉन्ड जाना। बिहार के लिए परदेश हो सकता था सदर्न प्रोविंसेस, तमिलनाडु के लिए प्रदेश हो सकता था नदर्न प्रोविंसेस। तो इस तरह से जो स्लेवरी सिस्टम था उसको एबॉलिश करके सेम काइंड ऑफ प्रैक्टिस को न्यू फॉर्म में, न्यू टर्म में इंट्रोड्यूस करने के रूप में देखा जा सकता है इंटेंजेंट लेबर के ओरिजिन को। रबर प्लांटेशन, कोकोआ प्लांटेशन, टी प्लांटेशन में इनके जो वर्क कंडीशंस थे, जो कैपिटलिज्म अपने आप को इस्टेब्लिश करता है कि ये फ्रीडम ऑफ ऑक्यूपेशन को प्रमोट करता है थ्रू द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, लेकिन जो नेचर ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है उसमें किसका से है, ये सारी चीजों को अगर हम एनालाइज करें तो हम देखेंगे कि स्लेवरी एबॉलिश होने के बाद भी इंटेंजेंट लेबर एक न्यू फॉर्म ऑफ स्लेवरी के रूप में कंटिन्यू रहा। और अगर मॉडर्न फिनोमेना में आज की डेट में इस टॉपिक के रिलेवेंस की बात करें, क्योंकि मैक्सिमम जो ऑडियंस है जेन जी को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, और आज के टाइम पे जेन जी के लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, इवन हम लोग क्लासरूम में देखते हैं कि इस चीज का रिलेवेंट क्या है। अगर हम 1 आवर यहाँ पे स्पेंड कर रहे हैं शॉर्ट्स एंड रील्स के बियॉन्ड, तो हमारे लिए यूटिलिटी क्या है? वी आर लिविंग इन द टेक्नो फ्यूडल इरा। टेक्नो फ्यूडल, क्योंकि फ्यूडलिज्म एबॉलिश होता है स्लेवरी सिस्टम के एबॉलिशन के साथ ही, लेकिन आज के डेट में मांग के थ्रू एम फॉर मेटा, ए एप्पल, अमेजॉन, एन फॉर नेटफ्लिक्स, जी फॉर गूगल, ये मांग रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं टेक्नो फ्यूडल को। और जिस वे में आज की डेट में एक न्यू फॉर्म ऑफ कॉलोनाइजेशन वेस्टर्न टेक्नोलॉजिकल जाइंट्स के द्वारा शुरू हुआ है, जो डेटा लोकलाइजेशन की डिमांड हो रही है, वो कहीं ना कहीं एसोसिएट करती है इस टॉपिक के प्रेजेंट सिग्निफिकेंस को, कि किस तरह से यह टॉपिक आज के जनरेशन में भी इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट है जिस तरह से 19th सेंचुरी के अर्ली डिकेड में थी। साथ ही जिस तरह से अनुष्का ने इस चीज को इस्टेब्लिश किया कि उनके एक्सपीरियंसेस जो थे वहाँ के लोकल कल्चर को किस तरह चेंज करते हैं, एक कॉस्मोपॉलिटन फॉर्म प्रोवाइड करते हैं इस पूरे कल्चर को। अब तक 21st सेंचुरी तक जिस चीज को हम सेलिब्रेट कर रहे थे अ सेंस ऑफ इन्फीरियरिटी के द्वारा, वहीं पे जब प्रवासी दिवस सम्मेलन के साथ ही हम देखते हैं कि कहीं ना कहीं हम अपने हिस्टोरिकल एक्सपीरियंसेस के बियॉन्ड जाते हुए इस चीज को आज के एक न्यू रियलिटी के रूप में एक्सेप्ट करते हुए हम अपनी आइडेंटिटी से एसोसिएट करके ए सेंस ऑफ सेलिब्रेशन के रूप में देखते हैं। जब कोई कैरिबियन कंट्री या ओलंपिक में हमारा एक लिमिटेड पार्टिसिपेशन होता है, लेकिन अगर कोई इंटेंजर्ड लेबर ग्रुप के कंट्रीज का कोई कप ट्रॉफी विन करता है, फुटबॉल टीम में अच्छा, फीफा में अच्छा परफॉर्म करता है, तो हम उसको एक सेंस ऑफ सेलिब्रेशन के रूप में देखते हैं। अगर कोई इंडियन कल्चर वहां पे सेलिब्रेट की जाती है तो हम उसको प्राइड के साथ देखते हैं। हम एसोसिएट करते हैं कि इस कंट्री का हेड ऑफ स्टेट हमारे यहाँ से बिलोंग करता है। तो जो हमने चेंज किया है, जो हम आज के डेट में बात करते हैं मैक्सिमम टर्म, और सर का एक फेवरेट टॉपिक है जो सर से मुझे काफी सीखने को मिला है कि डीकॉलोनाइजिंग माइंड। तो जो सेंस ऑफ इन्फीरियरिटी है उससे हम आगे बढ़ के जो डीकॉलोनाइज हमने अपने माइंड को किया है कि हम अपने हिस्टोरिकल इन्फीरियरिटी को, प्रैक्टिसेस को हम आज के डेट में एक माइंडसेट के चेंज के द्वारा हम इस चीज को सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं। वह इस्टेब्लिश कर रहा है कि जो अनस्पोकन नैरेटिव है अबाउट टू इंटेंजर्ड लेबर, इसकी ट्रेजेक्ट्री क्या रही है, इसको हमने किस फ्रेमवर्क में चेंज किया है, और आगे के लिए हमारी लर्निंग्स इससे क्या है इन द एरा ऑफ टेक्नो फ्यूडल। और इस टॉपिक के बाद अगर जीएसटीएस की हम बात करें, क्योंकि ये मेरा व्यू था, एनालिसिस था इस टॉपिक पे, तो हम एज ए टीचर जो बियॉन्ड ब्लैक बोर्ड की बात करता हूं मैं अक्सर क्लासरूम में, कि हमारे पास एक लिमिटेड स्पेस होता है जहां पे हम स्टूडेंट से उनके लाइफ के अदर डायमेंशन पे या अदर सोशियो पॉलिटिकल फिनोमेना पे, प्रैक्टिसेस पे, इंसिडेंट पे हम बात कर सकते हैं। सर का एक यूनिक इनिशिएटिव है जो कि एक कंट्रीब्यूशन है पूरे डीयू कम्युनिटी के लिए, जहाँ पे रिसर्च स्कॉलर के लिए, टीचर्स के लिए, हर इंडिविजुअल के लिए कोई ना कोई प्लेटफॉर्म है, लेकिन स्टूडेंट को एक रोट लर्निंग पे ही सेंट्रिक कर दिया जाता है। वहां पे रोट लर्निंग के बियॉन्ड सर ने जो इनिशिएटिव लिया, और पूरी जीएसटीएस टीम ने, जिन्होंने खुद इस चीज को लीड किया सर के हैंड होल्डिंग के द्वारा, उनको बिग राउंड ऑफ क्लास फॉर दिस इनिशिएटिव। आई एम वेरी ग्रेटफुल to participating in this initiative. Thanks to all of you.
थैंक यू सो मच सर आपके रिमार्क्स के लिए, एंड आई एम वेरी मच श्योर कि जो अपने नई इनसाइट्स दिए जैसे टेक्नो फ्यूडल वर्ल्ड, द आइडिया ऑफ परदेसी, ये हेल्पफुल रहेंगे हम सभी के लिए कहीं ना कहीं हमारे फ्यूचर कुछ रिसर्च वर्क्स को लेके। एंड थैंक यू सर आपके टाइम के लिए, सबसे इम्पोर्टेंटली टू स्पेयर टाइम ऑन अ Sunday evening with all of us. So we are very much grateful to you and for your presence throughout the session. Next in the series, continuing with our proceedings, we would now like to invite our upcoming speaker for GSTS 171, who is Mr. Nigam, and the proposed domain of his topic is CAA and NRC. So, Mr. Nigam, if you are here, kindly go ahead with your introduction and the brief objectives for the next session.
Good evening to all the respected faculties and dear friends. My name is Nigam Rai. I have done my graduation from Satyavati College Evening, Department of History. Presently, I am doing my master's from Department of History, IGNOU, and also preparing for the civil services. So, firstly, I am very thankful to Dr. Manish sir and all the team of GSTS for providing this platform for to speak. Also, I congratulate Anushka ji for such a grateful topic she presented today on endangered labor. There is a quote of Sir Walter Besotting that it is very बहुत necessary होता है आज की सोसाइटी में कि बहुत सी सोसाइटी सिर्फ फॉलो करती हैं, बट वो सोसाइटी जहां डिस्कशन होते हैं, लोग प्रॉपरली एक टॉपिक को अपने दूसरे से शेयर कम्युनिकेट करते हैं, तो वो सोसाइटी हमेशा प्रोग्रेस करती है। तो इसी को देखते हुए, सीइंग द प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो ऑफ आवर कंट्री, I'm going to present the topic on CAA, NRC, and NPR, which is the most prevalent thing going in our country today. Under this topic, we'll be talking about सबसे पहले तो एक हम इस पे कॉन्सेप्ट डेवलप करेंगे जो आजकल में एक बहुत ही कंफ्यूजन कह रहा है. ये सीएए गवर्नमेंट ने कोई पहली बार नहीं किया है. हम इस पॉलिटिकल डिस्कोजर जो हमारे सोसाइटी में है, खास करके हमारी जो कंट्री में है, गवर्निंग बॉडी, नॉन गवर्निंग बॉडी, हम उस पर नहीं जाएंगे इस टॉपिक में. हम इसमें बात करेंगे कि इसका हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड क्या है, इसके फैक्ट्स क्या हैं, इससे कौन से ऐसे मिथ्स हैं जो हमें नहीं जानने चाहिए. तो डिपेंडिंग ऑन हम इस पे डिस्कस करेंगे इसका पूरा पॉलिटिकल बैकग्राउंड. सीए कोई पहली बार नहीं हुआ. ये 1885, 1886, 2003, 2005 and after that 2019, depending on the situation of that time, ये हर गवर्नमेंट इसको प्रेजेंट करती आई है. तो टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट फैक्ट्स, फिर इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा. जैसे 2019 में द गवर्नमेंट has brought CAA, NPR, and NRC. So we'll see key on the demography of our country. Especially the main fact is that what will be its impact on the demography of a country. So eradicating the myths we'll be talking about, and I think it will be since it is a very vast topic, but I'll try my best with to present it, and we'll have a healthy discussion on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nigam. And on behalf of Mr. Nigam and the entire GSTS fraternity, हम सभी आपको invite करते हैं कि आप हमें next Sunday join कीजिएगा from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. again on the same link as well to listen to another very interesting and fascinating topic, but also very intricate or काफी misunderstood topic at times. So it's a very sensitive topic, but also very nuanced if if we try to understand it. So with this, we come to the end of this event, of the end of this session of GSTS 170. And with this, I would now like to hand over the proceedings to Dr. Manish Karnwar. So, sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Samriddhi. Hello. Yeah. Thank you, Samriddhi. It's really fantastic. So as usually, I'll invite two of my faculty members, and today's I'm not going to invite students because we have very limited time, 120 seconds. So start with the Akriti. Only 30 seconds, any remark, then Tanu Parasara, and lastly I'll go to the Simi Mehta ma'am. So Akriti, start with you, 30 seconds remarks if you have any, you want to add anything, and after that Tanu.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Congratulations, Anushka. Thank you so much for the brilliant talk. Actually, that question which I asked about the sources, it was actually related to what Dr. Vimlok has said, that we have so much in our traditional things as we are talking about sources, and sir has mentioned the term Videsh. Actually, we have this tradition in our folklores or folk songs that Videsiya. If you have, I think you have read it. So Videsia is a form of folk songs which were actually more prevalent in this period, actually the migration period, or related to indentured labor also. And second thing which I was also saying, that if we talk about indenture or girmitia, the agreement, but I had this in my mind that those laborers were actually educated enough to understand the agreement, or they were just bound to sign the agreement, because the question of volunteer or voluntarily doing something is a very different question, because we have seen in movies also, as in Mother India, जो मुंशी होता है या जो साहूकार होता है वो भी kind of agreement sign कराता था या अंगूठा लगाता था, but people were not aware about that agreement or the terms and conditions. So I think if we talk about voluntary choosing some occupation or this question of choice, so it has to be taken in our mind. In that scenario, was it a choice, or was it voluntarily choosing it, or they were forced to do it? So, sir, these are my remarks.
Thank you, Aditi. Dr. Tanu, are you around? Want to say something, Dr. Tanu? Yeah, I think she's around, but maybe some internet or civil she's or some other places. Simi ma'am, after long, so you want to say something?
Thank you so much, Manishji. But I'm sorry, I joined late, and I just was in when the speaker was kind of finishing her topic. I just joined then, so I just heard the guest speaker, kind of recapping the whole thing, the whole idea. So I would be a very wrong person to comment today, but thank you for asking me. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, okay, Seema, but the
I
concept
will
is
I
same.
will look I will surely look up the video क्योंकि मैं आपके videos catch up करती रहती हूँ. मैंने उसको
Definitely.
subscribe करा हुआ. So
No, no,
I do
thank you.
that. Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
हाँ
Thank
जी
you.
sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
for me, it's a limited time, or it's we are 30 seconds late. Okay. But no, it's just 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes and with this, so wrap up all the things. Okay. It was really wonderfully depicted by Anushka. And I usually did not invite students from the PhD or the research scholars, but when somebody suddenly drop the last vote happened, somebody could drop the sir, I'm not coming for the GSTS because my examination, because the undergraduate students are very furious about the examination. So I induce Anushka and other research scholars. So though maybe my department also, I'll start this program. But Anushka, it's really wonderful. Wonderful depiction in limited days, and you have read and you have also the summarized the book Indentured Labor. Also, it's really fascinating that we heard you and your view, and this gives you your aspect also. You're working on the cities in Gujarat or Africans in Gujarat. So the diaspora term. So this is the Indian diaspora in the Caribbean countries or the Africa, and you're working on the African diaspora in India. So somehow this topic is very much useful for your dispensation also. And obvious for the guest of honor, Bimlok, really you have given us so many thought-provoking things for my students and for ourselves also. And so very thankful. I'm very thankful to Bimlok also that he has joined and given his wonderful remarks about the techno-feudal and some abbreviation we used to use in when we were in the 10th class for the mathematics, uh, the the abbreviation words. Okay, so it's really, and he used the Pardesh for the Bihar, and still for the Bihar it is Calcutta, for Delhi it's the um, for the Indore it's Mumbai, and for the Delhi it's Jamna Par. So it's also sometimes they go 100 years back. For the Jamna Par people, it's Delhi, it's the Pardesh, such kind of thing. Okay, so really it's fantastic, and as well as Samriddhi was a fantastic, though yesterday, tomorrow, her paper, and all of my moderators are having papers, but still, so many we are faced, so many crunch time before also, but we are going on, and this is the most important thing that the anything is starting, the thing is very easy, but the continuation is very hard. So thank you, my moderators, all the moderators that you continue this these things. So really, it's heartfelting gratitude to all of you and my all graduate, postgraduate, MPhil and PhD students. You be here at 5 to 6 o'clock, but it's a government idea also be at home and listen something important. So, but what about my idea of this topic? Because very important that Anushka, Bimlo, Samriddhi, and I found these all are very intellectual sort of understanding. The first and foremost thing, why people left their country. This is intriguing me from last so many years, and I never find exactly why we are become a migrant. One side we are talking about the Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam, world is ours, puri dharti apni hai, and we are working on this exploitative system. Day before yesterday, I saw two movies and the Cannes festival, and both every movie that belongs to the diaspora, belongs to the migration. So why suppose that the people from Maharashtra went to the Bihar, so how come it's a diasporic people or migrant people, or for the far the people the still the Punjabis, they came from the Pakistan, and it's still we are using word refugee. So in the context, okay, it's a very left oriented concept that we use. Left means it's a left, that means extreme kind of concept that we use right now. It's still a diaspora, it's still migration. So my limited perception for your students also, who was responsible for those migration? We walked on the 50%. Why we not walked on the local ground? That means that if people are migrating from Bihar, UP, Bengal, so who was responsible? The people of that land was responsible. So this will very interesting work to be part of a research. Poor, caste, class. What was the region that people are migrating? Still, people are migrating from, and the same situation which Anushka reiterated, the same situation from India to Fiji or the Trinidad and Tobago. Still, Dubai, Canada, Australia, Indian people are living the same. So we think, yes, people are sending us money, but which cost? Which cost they are sending money? So we think this is not my domain, but this question intriguing me that why people are migrating only for the education? No, there are so many things are inherent: caste, poorness, class. So we think about this. This is my anguish towards all these discussion, because every time now it's time to work with the social science on the ground. That means how we change through our research. As a researcher, this is not only our work to research on certain topics, but the topic, whether the topic is related to the grounded or not. If suppose that we are working from India to Africa, whether that topic is relatable or not. So this is my limited bottom line for whole the discussion. Otherwise, Anushka, well done. Your people are young and dynamic. So for you, this is a very interesting idea. And Biblok, also a young faculty member of the Delhi University, and Samriddhi going to be one day going to be become a faculty of this university. So it's a really fantastic to hear this young lots. And so the Delhi University in the safe hands, with a caveat that you worked on your topic, do some changes, ground change. This is my suggestion for all of you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll meet the next two with the Nigam Rai's idea for the CA NRC. देखते हैं वो उन्होंने क्या रखा हुआ है from the migration to CA NRC. So देखते हैं कि वो किसके लिए और उसके पीछे कौन सी बातें हैं. So let's think. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. We are late today, but topic is so interesting. We are 8 minutes late. That means 400. 6 into 8, 420, no, 421 seconds late. So 421 seconds late, but it's a fantastic Bimlo. I think you also enjoyed a lot. So kindly spread this message to your students also. From your college, so many guest teachers, they joined us as a guest of honor, Mala ma'am, Madhuri. But the students, since take only 2 from your college, so kindly spread this message. And this is one ground we are lacking, that this forum, we are not spreading the idea, because limited everybody has some and other work. So it's request to all of you that spread this idea to everyone, and kindly join next Sunday. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. And we are ready for the next elections result on Tuesday. So thank you. Have a nice day. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.